real estate developers should know, even if you're not a marketer. And I just went through Ty Lopez's copywriting workshop program, whatever you want to call it. And I thought the best way for me to absorb and internalize this stuff is one, to be really efficient with my time, which means I have to teach this back to my kids. And how do I teach this back to kids in a level that they can even understand if they're a fifth grader? And I always thought about, what if one day they ask me and they say, hey, how do you get people to listen to your ideas and believe in you, dad? And if they ever ask me the question, I want to be a little bit prepared. And I mean, you can smile, right? But you know that deep down, it's not about being pushy, right? It's about speaking from the heart in a way that makes sense to their heads, right? So I, I want to teach you something that definitely changed my life. I never realized how important copywriting is, but it's the art of getting people to say yes, because you can't speak to everybody in person. So that written word is more impactful, more powerful than ever. And I just never learned this until now. And I'll admit it, right? I'm still not a very good copywriter. I'm working on it. So it doesn't matter if you're building affordable housing or investing in Section 8, or maybe you're just trying to inspire a city or community to believe in your vision for what you can do, right? These simple storytelling tools are going to help you do it honestly, effectively, transparently, so that even your kids are going to be proud of you and proud of how you communicate and learning from you, right? So I'm going to try to explain this stuff with, again, I'll throw in some analogies that even a fifth grader can understand, but I'm looking to become a better dad. And if you can come up with better analogies, please let me know what they are so that I can share with my kids, right? I'm just trying to become a better parent. I think we all are just trying to become a better version of ourselves every single day. So let's start at the highest level, right? What is copywriting? I believe that copywriting is just using words to help people take action, right? Either to sign up, believe, support, or partner with you. That's what I believe. Something, it's writing that inspires action, right? We talked about what a sale is, and I think a sale is change, right? And change usually is a result of some type of action, right? And if you think about it, right, imagine you are, my daughter loves going to the zoo. So let's say you go to the zoo and there's a tour guide. And if you're a tour guide and all you do is just point to the lion and say, that's a lion, it's not very effective. But when you say, hey, that's Simba, he sleeps 18 hours a day, but when he roars, the whole zoo hears it. He eats every day at 2 o'clock, but when he's on a hunt, we hide his food and he goes in. All of a sudden, the way you talk about, the way you, again, you write about it that way, people are gonna lean in. They're gonna care more. Copywriting is gonna help people feel what you're saying, not just read it. So he talks about the goldfish, and we've talked about a goldfish sugar, right? People have an attention span of like goldfish, which really means that you got to hook someone in the first 3, 4, 5 seconds, because if you don't grab the attention fast, you lose it forever. And I really learned this the hard way. I thought, hey, I'm going to ask the best questions. We're going to get the best affordable housing podcast episode out there. The information is so good. But I realized that if your thumbnail's not on point and your headline's not on point, it doesn't matter how good the conversation is, because someone will never get to that amazing conversation that you thought was there in the first place, right? You gotta make people feel, oh, I need to hear this, or I need to finish this, right? There might be some kind of mystery, or there might be some kind of bold statement, or a question, or a story, right? It's almost as if you were watching a magic trick, and then and the magician says, hey, watch closely or you're gonna miss it. They hook you, right? Because then now all of a sudden you're paying extra attention. That's not a moment where you're grabbing out your phone and you start scrolling, because he just queued you up and said, hey, watch closely, right? Or you're gonna miss it, right? So you might say it different. Like instead of saying like, "Hey, I'm building 72 affordable housing units," maybe you say, "Hey, we're solving housing crisis one family at a time, and here's how we do it." Right? Sometimes people don't lean in for data. Sometimes they make associations with emotions. So sometimes when you write, and I think I've been guilty of this, maybe all through high school, because you've been taught to BS papers, right? Make it as long as possible. You got a 50-page paper, you got to cite all this stuff. And now all of a sudden, you're trying to double space your paper to make it extra longer, trying to add extra space after the period. And just forget all those big words, all the legalese, the corporate fluff. If you're able to explain it to a neighbor or your fifth grade 10-year-old, right? That's how it works, right? It's like if you try to put on a fancy accent to make it sound fancier, I mean, they don't care how fancy it sounds. They care if you mean it. So if you are ever putting forth a proposal for an investor, a city, a community, or a deal, I mean, just make it sound like you. Be authentic. Again, this is not investment advice. We're not soliciting any investment on this call. I'm just taking what I learned today, internalizing it, and the best way for me to internalize it is to try to teach it back in a way that even a 10-year-old can understand it, right? Just be natural, be real. And the only way you'll be confident is if you believe it in yourself, right? So when you write, I like to help focus on benefits and not the features, right? Features are facts, right? Like this AirPod is white, right? But benefits are what those facts do for the people using it, right? So again, features are what it is, but the benefits are what it does for them, right? It's like saying, hey, a pencil is made of wood and graphite, right? That's the feature. But it can help you draw out your most beautiful dreams in the world, help you draw your family. It can help you show love with words, right? And I've played around with this, right? Sometimes we say, hey, we secure tax exempt bonds. Well, maybe you can explain to someone, you say, hey, we unlocked financing that saves money and makes rents more affordable for families. Maybe that's a easier way to explain. That's a little bit less jargony, if you will, right? Next tip, tell stories, not just stats or facts, right? Stories are that emotional glue. Think about how certain lessons get passed down from the older generation, right? It's really just through a culmination of stories passing down the lineage of the family. So just remember how important stories are, right? Facts, they tell, but stories sell. People generally forget numbers, but they remember the narrative. It's almost as if you, say you're trying to tell your kid when you scraped your knee and you learn how to ride a bike. Chances are they don't just hear about the fall, right? They're going to feel the courage that you had to learn a skill, to do something that had that risk of pain. So when you're talking about, let's say you're a developer, you're talking about your projects, right? Share the journey. Talk about how this was a vacant lot or neighborhood was full of blight and everything was abandoned, right? But then you met a woman named, she's making up Rosa, right? And she's a single mom who used to go and walk by that area and say, hey, one day someone's going to build something special. And I can imagine my kids and I playing in a park right over there. And we made that happen. Now, that's a story that people remember. When you're able to paint the picture, help people visualize what you're trying to get towards, and incorporate their feedback, listen at the same time, right? Listen. So that's what brings me to my next tip, right? Study your audience like it's your best friend. Great copy isn't about being clever. Sometimes they're like, oh, what is that one word that's going to make all the difference? Well, it's not. It's about understanding where that person is that's reading it, right? You have to understand their fears, right? When a community sees a developer coming in, they're gonna like, oh, this is a greedy developer. All they want is make money on our backs, blah, 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 right? As a developer, you might be thinking, oh, these people, they just don't get my project. I have the best project. You're not listening to one another. I'm not playing for any sides, right? You might be a landowner and that owns land, and you think someone might be trying to get the best deal. They're trying to get you. And just learn to be empathetic, understand what their fears are, address those fears, be transparent, right? When you get ahead of those frustrations or potential conflicts, I mean, chances are that end result will likely be better, and it'll make everybody, the overall quality of your project better, right? Before you write anything, just ask, hey, what might be keeping them up at night? What they're excited about, right? What language? How do they describe their problems? How do they talk about their concerns? What are they emphasizing? Because what you think is the most important thing, it might be number three, number five, number seven on their list of priorities, right? You might think they really care about a dog park, and all they care about is, hey, this is the school going to be is the school going to have enough capacity for all these folks? What's that going to mean to the teacher to student ratio for my kids? It's real things. Think about it. Think it through. Because when your writing sounds like it came from inside their head, then they'll finally understand, hey, this person gets me. And I think that's what makes great community builders. They get the community, right? Now, again, next step is just making it easy to read, right? When you write copy, it shouldn't feel like homework. Here's what I learned: you got to use short sentences, break things up, use line breaks. Sometimes I get marketing is like 1 or 2 lines max, and then it goes to the next line. It makes things easy to read, right? Don't be afraid of bold words. Use emojis to be more warm, right? They guide the eyes. I mean, I know now everyone likes this, but I like turn on captions during a movie because now I catch every word without missing a beat. The easier it is to read, the easier it is to trust and act upon what you read. Okay. So finally, show proof. People don't want to guess. They want to see whatever you're proposing works. This might mean getting testimonies from other people, their experience working from you. It might mean showing, if you're a developer, past photos of projects that you have built and what has the impact been on that community. Maybe you have quotes from other city partners that's partnered with you, right? I like to think of this as for a kid, right? I'm trying to come up with an analogy. I mean, I've had science projects in the past in elementary school where you had to make a volcano, right? Make a shape of a volcano. And it's like, hey, instead of saying it works, right? When you're able to demonstrate the lava pouring out and glowing, what? I'm thinking about some of the presentations you've seen in the past when someone's able to demonstrate, right? That's why if you are ever trying to sell something, right? Let's say you're a marketing agency and you're trying to help someone with social media ads or whatever. Show them how you would do it. Just take one other clip, do something better, and make it better. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I want my kids, for whatever career path that they're looking to break into, well, marketing and sales might be a good way for them to learn how to generate leads for whatever business or industry they care about, because then you can bring value to someone that's been in the business or in the industry or in whatever concentrated mission. Maybe they're a lawyer, maybe they're a doctor, maybe they're an entrepreneur. I don't really care what it is. But if they're able to generate an audience, they're able to create a platform, they're able to show that they care, and most importantly, get people's message out there and really impact people's lives for the better, that's how they can bring value to someone that's way more experienced, is way further ahead, that might bring them along for the ride. I know I was the beneficiary of finding great mentors. Okay. Now, when you end whatever you do, whatever you copy, tell people exactly what to do next. No maybe, right? Maybe you say, hey, join my email list. Like for today, I would love everybody if you can join my email list on affordablehousing.io. Please join it, right? Or maybe I want people to subscribe to our affordable housing podcast, which is on youtube.com/at Kent_G. But pick one, because a confused mind says no. If you try to pitch too many things, it doesn't work. Now, I have heard of people doing a CTA, maybe a soft CTA, in the first 30% of a video, right? Because there's people that drops off. That's fine, but only do one at a time. Okay. Now, I like to think of this as an analogy of if you ask your kids to clean up, right? They're gonna say, "What do you mean by clean?" But when you say things like, "Hey, go pick up the blocks, go wipe down the table, put your toys back into that container," right? All of a sudden, it's more specific, and now you're clear. So, finally, I think I heard it from this communicator, Vin Jiang. He talks a lot about communication, and he talks about how he communicates. And one of the most memorable things, and I cherish every time I can do this with my kids, is when you can read a book with like animated tonality. Your kids will say, "Dad, Mom, can you read that story in a cool way again?" Like that's what's they're gonna remember. They're not gonna remember like, "Oh, I've read I Am Max or I read some Dr. Seuss book." They're not gonna remember that, but they're gonna remember how you read it. So this applies, right? So if I can just urge you to do one thing today, you can take nothing else away. Try reading a book to your kids tomorrow night and be so animated that they're gonna laugh. They're gonna have so much fun listening to you read. And that will show you the impact of how your communication leaves an impact on them. Because I know when I read to my kids, they laugh. They think I'm so silly. So this applies. So it doesn't matter if you're talking to a 10-year-old or a 100-year-old, right? Great communication. It's about making people feel seen, making them feel heard, understood, and valued. That's what great copywriting is. I know I kind of digress a little bit with the story, but the theme of being passionate about what you're doing, or even if you're not passionate about the subject, being passionate about helping the person you're talking to, talking with the intent to connect with that person. Your intent is so important. So speak from your heart, write with that intention. And I hope you teach this back to your own kids, because what you teach, and I believe in teaching like someone's future depends on it, because it does. Because I hope my kids one day look at this and say, "Oh, that wasn't that bad. That didn't explain copywriting that great, but it wasn't that bad." So just in case I'm not there, I love you all. Have an amazing Tuesday, everybody. Spend some quality time with your family and friends today, because that's what life is all about, right? We're not just building affordable housing, we're building a better world for them. Have an amazing Tuesday, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow for day 579. Thank you so much for supporting the Affordable Housing Podcast. I appreciate you all so, so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you for caring about affordable housing. Without people like you, I would have never had the home I grew up in. So I appreciate you tuning into these lives late. I appreciate you all so much. Have a great day. I'll see you all tomorrow.